Let's go now to the nation's capital, the latest to weigh in on the debate over marijuana use and legalization in this country. On Tuesday, Washington, D.C.'s council voted to decriminalize the drug, scaling back the fine to just $25. It's similar to that of a parking ticket. Here's some local reaction.
Well, I think it's a pretty good idea since the punishments are not equally spaced. That the decriminalization will make a more equitable law enforcement.
All right, there's one good idea, but not everybody thinks it's a good idea. Former Rhode Island Congressman Patrick Kennedy is waging what some call a fierce anti-pot campaign. He worries widespread legalization of marijuana could cause what he calls a public health nightmare. And the former congressman is joining me now. Patrick, welcome.
Thank you, Alex.
I want to talk about, first of all, where you are right now. You're at a studio in Vermont, which has a pretty big heroin problem in that state. I know that you've said that marijuana takes you to the same place as cocaine and heroin. It just takes longer. Talk about that. Do you base that on scientific evidence or anecdotal evidence?
Well, we do need more research, but let's just follow our common sense. People here in Vermont are in crisis. Heroin overdoses and addiction rates are all-time high. The governor up here in Vermont has said it's a major public health crisis, but people don't just start injecting heroin at the first time they use a drug. They start, maybe taking Oxycontin, which, like medical marijuana, can kind of deceive you because it's medicine. That's what they say. Like medical, it can't be hurtful to you. And what happens is, Alex, that your tolerance for more and more drugs grows, and you want to increase that level of high, and then you move on to the street level drug, and then next thing you know, you're either dead or you're overdosed or you're in a real crisis in your life. I think this thing with marijuana is really insidious because we're dealing with the kind of marijuana that is much stronger than the kind found in the 70s and 80s. This is genetically modified marijuana, very potent. And we also see increased usage amongst teenagers. The Survey of the Future that the NIH publishes showed a marked increase of teenage drug use of marijuana. And Alex, it corresponds to this whole debate over legalization and decriminalization. So there is a correlation, Alex, between talking about this being medicine, talking about it being no big deal, and more kids in our country using it because, quite frankly, now the accessibility of this and the affordability of marijuana is just becoming easier and easier. So why should we be surprised if more and more kids are using this drug on a daily basis?
Here's an interesting stat here, Patrick. A recent Wall Street Journal poll found that 55% of Americans believe small amounts of marijuana should be legal. Only 24% are saying no to that. But it seems, Patrick, you may have an ally in the most unlikely of places. Here's what California Governor Jerry Brown said about legalizing marijuana last week on Meet the Press. Let's listen to that.
The problem with anything, a certain amount is okay, but there is a tendency to go to extremes. And all of a sudden, if there's advertising and legitimacy, how many people can get stoned and still have a great state or a great nation? World's pretty dangerous, very competitive. I think we need to stay alert, if not 24 hours a day, more than some of the potheads might be able to put together.
Interestingly, Patrick, he's echoing some of your argument there.
Yeah, so Governor Brown is highlighting the problem here, and that's the commercialization of marijuana. There's a new Wall Street push. It's called the Green Rush. It's investors investing in these pot dispensaries, and they're advertising now. And the problem is, Alex, just like big tobacco before it, advertisers will target kids. They want a new market of consumers. That's the real worry out here, Alex, is that you're going to let this become a commercialized product. More people are going to get hooked because you want that. That's what consumerism in a capitalist system, which is for profit, because this is going to be for profit, Alex. So I just think Jerry Brown is absolutely right. We need to worry about this. This country, it's in a difficult time. Our young people have trouble getting jobs, affording homes, being able to do anything. And we're going to say to them, if you've got anxiety, depression, just smoke this. It'll make you feel better. I don't think that's the message we want to send to kids who are enormously stressed out. We need to be teaching them coping skills and things of that sort to support them, not let them go down this road that's not going to lead them to anywhere positive.
You know, and I would say as a mother, and I think many people employing common sense are certainly going to support what you're saying there in terms of what kids need these days. But here's an interesting angle here, because more than half of the states, including some in the conservative South, Patrick, they're considering decriminalizing the drug or legalizing it for medical or recreational use. What do you think is the driving force behind this? Does it come down to perhaps tax dollars, revenue, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think it does come down a lot to the tax dollars. A lot of these states are fiscally challenged. But keep in mind with alcohol, where we do collect taxes, for every dollar we collect, there's a $10 that we spend in emergency room costs, in law enforcement costs, in other associated costs, social costs as a result of alcohol. I think we're going to see a much greater cost to our society from legalization than will ever garner the kind of revenues. While on the one hand, they look like it's a lot of money coming in Colorado, we still don't know what those costs are going to be because those costs are diffuse. They're truancy rates in college, in school, kids dropping out, lower test scores. I loved your story about SATs. It's a perfect time for SATs to dumb down their methodology because more and more of our kids are going to be using this, and this should frighten all of us as Americans. Our country cannot be a first-rate nation and go to pot like so many of our states are moving towards.
All right, former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, I can absolutely envision you on the floor of the House right now making your case. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
nice to
Alex.
see you.